So welcome everyone, and thanks for joining our meet and greet table session here with the Age-Friendly New Jersey Statewide Collaborative. So when I was looking at names, I think I know pretty much everyone here, but for folks I don't know, I'm Christine Newman. I'm the Director of Outreach at AARP New Jersey. I'm joined today with my co-table hosts, Cathy Rowe, Executive Director, New Jersey Advocates for Aging Well, and Andy Fraizer, Executive Director, Community Foundation of South Jersey. So we're thrilled you're here with us today, and we are looking forward to an interactive discussion and really getting to connect some of the dots among the collaborative and attendees today. So to kick us off, I'm just going to start with a brief overview and primer to the collaborative, and then I'll turn things over to Andy and Cathy to go a little deeper into two of our collaborative groups. So in early 2021, AARP New Jersey, NJAW, New Jersey Future, Community Foundations of South Jersey, the Rutgers School of Social Work, the Grata Fund for Senior Care, and the Henry and Marilyn Taub Foundation all came together to start to map out the launch of this collaborative. And really one of the first outputs was an age-friendly summit. I know many of you attended back in March of 2021. And the governor also attended, and actually at that conference made the announcement that New Jersey was going to become an age-friendly state. He also announced the creation of an age-friendly state advisory council as part of that, and several members of the statewide collaborative are also members of that council. So we have some good cross-pollination there. So really the statewide age-friendly collaborative is a group of New Jersey organizations and leaders all working together in a statewide and coordinated effort to advance both age-friendly state policies and also accelerate local implementation of age-friendly policies and programs. So how do we do this? Like many communities around the country and around the world, you know, New Jersey's demographics are shifting towards a population that is living longer. Currently, we know that New Jersey residents over 60 make up 23% of our state's population. And so really the time to prepare is now. So what we need to do is create age-friendly places in a manner that results in long-term systemic change.
Excuse me, Christine, I'm just going to jump in. Your slides aren't advancing.
Oh, really?
I think they need a little push.
That's so interesting. They're showing on my screen.
If you shared a different, you probably have to unshare and then share the main screen. If you have multiple screens, I always have the same issue.
All right. So
thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah. So I'm sharing this. You know what? I'm going to share that and see if that helps.
So I know you have great graphics and we all want to see them.
Is Christine still with us? Not sure I see her anymore.
She got fed up with us and left.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Okay, well, I'm going to text Althea and let her know in case maybe there's like a waiting room situation.
Okay.
Okay.
So Andy, you and I can move ahead while we're waiting for Christine. And
Yeah,
actually, Andy,
I'm looking for the PowerPoint. So as soon as I can, I'll share it.
okay. I will talk then while we're waiting for Christine and Andy searching. So, you know, about the time that the governor announced that we were going to move forward as an age-friendly state, this collaboration formed to bring in people and groups that have been working for years, actually, on age-friendly movements. And so far, these have been largely local. In North Jersey, there's a group of towns that have had a lot of success in movement in the last 5 to 6 years. Princeton and Montclair have been at it a little bit longer, joining the AARP network of age-friendly communities. And some of the counties are moving forward. Bergen and Somerset in particular are moving forward in this space. So there has been a lot of work from the grassroots level moving up. And for the collaborative, we wanted to bring people together to help them move along faster, to identify what can be replicated, what are best practices, and to kind of bring from the state level down and the grassroots level up so we can meet in the middle and accomplish as much as we can as quickly as we can.
Are you seeing my screen?
And we
So
see it now.
You see on the house screen? Great.
Yep. So Andy, do you want to go since you were in the initiative even before I was?
Sure. So just a quick comment to support what Cathy said. While we came together in a more formalized way starting in 2021, actually we started planning together back in 2019. And this is where the Community Foundation came in. And I want to recognize John Ambrose, who's with us today, who's a fund holder at the Community Foundation and helped the seed through our Cascade Fund at the Community Foundation, some of the early planning that led to this collective work together. So into 21, as we've built a collective, what we call a collective impact structure around this, with AARP New Jersey serving in that backbone role of helping us to continue to organize, we've put a collaborative structure in place that involves 3 ongoing committees: a leadership committee, a local accelerator committee, and a state policy subcommittee in support of the goals that we outlined on the previous screen. The state policy committee is, again, about trying to move state policy forward and embed policies and practices in our state code and in state practice that advance age-friendly communities, while the local accelerator subcommittee is about putting, as we like to say, more dots on the map and understanding how to support communities in doing that work. And Cathy, I think you've got some additional detail about the local accelerator group that you wanted to mention.
Yeah. So with the local group, we want to help communities move forward. There are some that have been doing this for a long time and are looking at their next steps. There are some that serve as really great examples for what can be replicated. But let's be real. We know what New Jersey is like. We know that every town is different. Every county is different, whether it's urban or rural, the demographics, the economics of it. There is a lot of variety in our little state. So we know that there's not a one size fits all solution. But what we can do is help promote and educate people about what is working well and helping them fine tune it to bring to their community. So for example, if there are local efforts in transportation in Hudson County, that's very different than it's going to be in Burlington County. However, transportation is equally important to older adults who never drove or no longer drive. Food security is an issue that is, again, it can be people who have been food insecure for a long time, or recently happened to them because they can no longer drive or have lost their informal supports. We saw a lot of that under COVID. So there's no one size fits all, but we can go back and forth and learn from each other and highlight what is working well and how that can be tailored to a community to bring that topic or those programs to their area. So we've been working together with the steering committee and the local advisory group, LAG. We know it's not the best acronym, but LAG group. And then the state policy committee, looking at how all of this goes together. And what's really important for us is to bring the local level up, highlight, educate people about it, then also work on the state policy that then will come down towards the county and local level.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in with the state policy subcommittee. We are looking to advance a policy agenda that is consistent with the 8 domains that AARP and the World Health Organization support. For those who might not be conversant, I'll just mention them and then talk in a little more detail about where we've built some initial support and some priority issues. So housing is one, transportation is a second, public parks and public spaces is a third, civic participation and employment is a fourth, social participation and engagement is a fifth, community support and health services a sixth, respect and social inclusion a seventh, and then finally communication and information. And so while we aspire to a policy agenda that supports each one of those domains, And again, the dynamic that Cathy described of how the state policy group is informed by the local accelerator work, and at the same time, what we learn in the local communities and through the local accelerator work informs the state policy agenda. We've prioritized housing and transportation, where there is a significant group of members on the committees and some of our outside partners that are very committed on those issues. And there's some, frankly, some actionable items that are moving in the General Assembly that we're advocating around. I'll just mention a couple. I won't go through full subcommittee meeting agendas, if you will, but give you a sense of the kind of things that we're talking about with the housing subcommittee. Accessory dwelling units is an issue. There are several pieces of legislation that have been moving in the General Assembly, trying to have a voice represented on those particular issues. Looking at the HUD appropriations budget and how it relates to the state of New Jersey's budget, in again, trying to fund a housing development agenda that supports seniors in our local communities. Also, I want to flag one of our partners is the Housing and Community Development Network of New Jersey, and their upcoming conference on housing is September 29th and 30th. And again, some of these issues will be surfaced as part of the governor's, what they call the Governor's Conference on Housing. And then moving to transportation, some of the key policy issues deal with the Vision Zero partnership around traffic fatality, and ultimately having safe streets that don't lead to death in the streets, if you will. We've also focused, I want to reference my notes, sorry. We've also focused on micro mobility issues, and we've recently had a new member join our subcommittee from the South Jersey Transportation Planning Authority, who has brought the idea of micro mobility issues and how we help seniors move about in spaces and access to opportunities that deal with both social inclusion and also for seniors who are still working or older adults who are still working, access to transportation opportunities, workforce opportunities, incentivizing things like density and mixed use development in transportation policies, an active transportation system, including green and complete streets as a strategy, is also on the policy agenda. And then the conversation around transportation equity across the state of New Jersey. Obviously, there's a far more robust public transit system in the central and northern part of the state than there is in the southern part of the state. And so looking at how we address that to serve seniors. So that's the work that the state policy subcommittee is engaged in right now.
Yeah. And I think that it's, with a lot of the examples that Andy gave, it's clear this isn't only for senior citizens. The Vision Zero and the safe streets efforts, and there have been some great examples, like in Jersey City has done a lot in the last couple of years. That is good for everyone, and that's something that we say again and again. What's good for the 80-year-old is good for the 8-year-old. Age-friendly is really good for all ages. We are focusing on older adults because they are the ones, that's the growing demographics, they're the ones that have changing needs. But what is done for older adults does benefit the whole community. And once we keep that mentality that this isn't an either or a competition, this really is a collaborative work, and it can be collaboration at every single level. I'm gonna go for the next slide, Andy. I don't know if we're gonna see Christine again.
Yeah, so this is our last slide. So I think this would be a good place to open it up for questions and comments if you're interested in how you might get involved or some of the issues that we're working on, or want to surface issues that you think we should bring to the two working committees, which are the public policy and the local accelerator. And then the steering committee is the backbone, if you will, I should say, supports the backbone in trying to keep all of us coordinated and moving forward together and make collective decisions on behalf of the work. And I'll go back to that slide just to give you a sense of how the intersections help, and look forward to your questions.
And I just put in the website for Age-Friendly North Jersey. We are working on a website for the collaborative, which isn't quite ready. But if you want to see good examples of what is being done on the local level, that has, I think, 12 communities connected to it. So you can see what they're doing and contact them. Emily?
Hi, lovely to meet you, Cathy. And I know Christine's not here anymore, but also nice to meet her. And Andy, good to see you again. I just wanted to point out, I really love what you said about, what's good for the 80-year-old is good for the 8-year-old. And I just want to point out that, a lot of the work that we do in occupational therapy is something called universal design. And I think that's something that Age Friendly really needs to utilize, is this idea of universal design. And the best example that I always give of it is when you go to the grocery store and you step on that mat and the door opens. Well, that's great for anybody in a wheelchair. That's great for an older adult. That's great for somebody who's carrying groceries. That's great for a parent with a buggy pushing a child. So, finding ways to utilize universal design will benefit everybody. And, I think we'll get buy-in when it helps me, the policymaker, right? When it helps me, I'm certainly more inclined to buy into it. And, I find it so fascinating through the research that I've done that, we bias our future selves, isn't the goal to continue to become older? And it's just always so fascinating to me. So I just wanted to really highlight that. And I'm just so glad you're thinking about that. And then second, I would love to be involved in any one of these committees or anything like that. So if you're looking for support there, I would love to support you in any way.
Thank you. And I think Emily brought up a great element for the built environment, where universal design is like Disney World is the best place for it. If you think of retrofitting a building to have a separate entrance for people in a wheelchair or with a walker who can't climb steps, it's usually a built-up ramp around the side, separate door, push button. Isn't it better just to design it from the beginning so there's one door that works for everyone? Like you said, works for the stroller, works for the high school student who's on crutches, something that works for everyone. A great example of those is if you look at, if you're into any of the home renovation shows, open concept design has become very popular. That is something that's also universal design, is how you move around a room. And it's as simple as wider doorways, the height of cabinets, having variations in a building, whether it's private or public. But there has been discussion on making public spaces universal design. That means changing a lot of the old buildings that are here, which is a challenge. But for new construction, it's a growing trend, and it's very important. Anybody else?
Well, I just wanted to jump right back in. I'm sorry, I put it in the chat, but because we're thinking about policies, right? We have the Americans with Disabilities Act from the 90s, and it needs some updates. It needs, it needs some revision and to really be more inclusive of these universal design principles, because I think the pandemic has highlighted, even just look at this situation, right? How many people on here have disabilities, right? And we can all participate now because of that inclusivity. And so I think ADA just needs a real update, because what ADA does in the public areas is very different than what we can do in individual spaces. Like you mentioned, that open concept design, right? We can cater to more individuals that way too.
Other questions? If not, I'll make a comment to say some of the discussion and dialogue that we have related to all of this work together and through our steering committee that we've touched on is this intersection of the built environment with the way seniors experience community and participate actively in community. And so it actually came up in the session that the Rutgers team did today, thinking about how we engage and seniors can lead this work in their local communities and be intentional around how we mobilize them and support them as leaders in our communities and core assets in our communities, in addition to thinking about how we build the environment by which we need to make sure that everyone's needs in communities are met, right? So this distinction between viewing the individual and the human capacity as assets in our local places and empowering and that local advocacy and leadership, and at the same time transforming the way we build our communities writ large in order to support all of us living a higher quality of life locally.
So we have less than a minute to go, and I want to thank everybody for joining us. If you have questions, you will be able to follow up with Andy and I. And you know, what works for the 80-year-old works for the 8-year-old, but what works in Maplewood might not work in, you know, in Princeton or Clinton. So it's a very diverse state. We have a lot of different needs and geography. So we have to, part of the local accelerator group is to find ways where things can be replicated, tweaked, fit into a different environment. And I think Emily alluded to it, you know, think of what you want in 20 years. We don't want other older populations. What do you want when